What is going on, everyone? It is Connor, your co host with the most, back here with another episode of Clutch Crew Sports. And on this episode, it's going to be the Thanksgiving episode of Clutch Crew Sports. We did this last year where we took a bunch of NFL teams and compared them to different Thanksgiving foods. So I'm going to be doing that here today. Unfortunately, hopefully, it'll be fun. Unfortunately, it's been a really bad football weekend for myself, Zach, and Eric. UNC and Tennessee both losing their hopes of making the college football playoff, as well as Hendon Hooker and Drake May's Heisman chances becoming zero as well. And also, thankfully for Eric and Zach, the Jags were on bye, so no loss there, but the Steelers also lost as well. So it hasn't been good, but getting excited for this. And I actually do have a guest with me today, so let me introduce him.
Yo, it's me, Eric, the ranting co-host here. I've been in the Lockboard episodes that I can be in, but haven't been in a podcast episode in quite a long time. I really enjoyed the Thanksgiving episode last year, so when Connor asked me if I could be a part of this, I was like, obviously I will do this. So now I just need my neighbor outside to shut up, and I'll be good.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what they're doing out there.
Eric's got neighbor problems.
Hopefully that audio isn't picking up. But
no,
anyway,
I don't.
Okay.
Not like that time that we thought that Zach was like going on the highway or something.
No, nothing like that. Nothing like that.
So yeah, we are going to go around the shield here. Like I said, so we have 12 different teams and 12 different Thanksgiving foods. These are pretty much the same foods from last year. One of them is a little bit different, but this is mostly the same. And like last year, we've attributed a team to each one of these, and I'm happy to say that no team is a repeat from last year. These are all different. They're all in different spots. And we've got everything from good Thanksgiving food to bad Thanksgiving food. So you might have guessed that based on which teams are associated with which here. But we're going to start here traditionally, of course, with the turkey. The turkey is your traditional main staple at Thanksgiving. There are a couple people or families or whatever that maybe like to go off the script and have ham for Thanksgiving as well. But turkey is the classic, the staple. Everyone likes it, everyone enjoys it, and the team that definitely represents the turkey this year is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. We were considering putting the Eagles here, but they've been looking a little bit weak recently. So the Chiefs are definitely still, even with the loss of Tyreek Hill and the loss of Tyrann Mathieu, like they're still the class of the NFL right now. They've been the powerhouse for the past, I feel like it's been like 5 seasons now or something like that. So the Chiefs, they're in the playoff. They're in a Super Bowl hunt as well this year. They've got a game tonight. We're recording this on Sunday. They've got a game tonight against the Chargers, but I fully expect the Chiefs to win that game and continue their dominance. So I know you've been impressed with the Chiefs this year as well, Eric.
Oh yeah, I've been surprised by the Chiefs in a way because like you said, with the losses, if you had told me at the beginning of the season that the Chiefs were going to land on the turkey, I would have been pretty surprised by that. But I should have known though, this was as good as Mahomes is, as good as Andy Reid is, and they've still got a lot of other talented players. I should have still seen this coming. So they dethroned the Tampa Bay Bucks as the turkey who was here last year. So good for the Chiefs, and Connor and I need the Chiefs to beat the Chargers tonight so that Zach does not get any lockboard points.
yeah, definitely. Like you said, the Chiefs have also they've dethroned the Tampa Bay Bucks, who were in this spot last year. Which, they were not in the conversation for this again this year. Like I said, we were considering maybe the Eagles or like maybe someone like the Bills, but the Buccaneers definitely not in the conversation for the turkey this year. So better luck next time. But Eric, what do we got? What do we got here for the next food?
Well, hopefully by this point in the season next year, my Jaguars will be 10-0 and they can be the turkey. But not going to get my hopes up. But next we have cranberry sauce, and cranberry sauce is something like, when you look at the colors of it and everything, it looks good. it seemed, it's a dessert, it's sweet, you think it would be something that, might be more popular, but really cranberry sauce just isn't that good. And the team that we have for this is going to be the Los Angeles Rams. Definitely a bit of a surprise that they're here. Like I talked about with the Chiefs and the turkey, I would not have thought going into the season the Rams would have ended up as the cranberry sauce, but I had them in the getting back to the Super Bowl and having a really great season and everything, but they've just been a complete dumpster fire this year. Stafford has regressed. Their run game has been pretty terrible. Their defense is okay, but hasn't been as good as it's been. Like Cooper Cup's pretty much the only good thing about this team right now. So definitely a bit of a surprise to see the Rams end up on the cranberry sauce here, but that I guess that's just the way the league goes. Sometimes with the salary cap making things more level, teams aren't going to be at the top forever. Connor, do you have any other thoughts on the Rams here and why we picked them as the cranberry sauce?
Yeah, definitely surprised to have them here. I mean, this was a spot that was held by the Panthers last year, so definitely not something that I expected here for the cranberry sauce. At least, for the Rams' sake, we're going with the, if you want to take this a little bit better, we're comparing them to fresh cranberry sauce and not the canned cranberry sauce that, likes to come out of the can with all the can lines and everything. So, they're at least being compared to a better version of this, but.
I may have to make fun of my dad here a little bit, but my dad loves the cranberry sauce out of the can for some reason.
Oh, my stepmom does too. She loves she said she just loves the can lines. Like it's just, a unique thing that she loves the can lines and seeing like the shape of the can.
It's like, metal, yeah. No, thank you. All right, Connor, who do we got next here?
Yeah, so the next dish we have here, continuing with the side dishes here, we have the stuffing. And the stuffing, when you take the Thanksgiving dishes, it's going to be at every single Thanksgiving dinner. It's not Thanksgiving without the stuffing. And it's one of those side dishes that to us, it's something that everyone tends to like to a good amount, but it's never, there's some people that have it as their favorite, but for the most part, there's other favorites out there for the stuffing, and we consider it as like taking an NFL team. It's like an NFL team that they're an established team, they're a good team that is always in the playoff hunt, not necessarily in the Super Bowl hunt, but they're always in the playoff hunt. And this year we've got the New England Patriots, which they've also been a surprise this year. Given some of the losses they had in the offseason, didn't expect them to be where they're at. They've really been carried by their defense this year. Mac Jones hasn't been playing that great. They did have Bailey Zappi playing in a couple games for them, but Bill Belichick. But Bill Belichick, he's known for having great defenses, and their defense certainly today, especially carried them. That hurt Eric on the lock board. He had the Jets being the Patriots, but anytime you're in a game where the final score is 10-3, you really got to thank your defense for holding up there. So, yeah, the Patriots, compared to the stuffing, like I said, they're in the playoff hunt right now, but I definitely wouldn't consider them a Super Bowl contender by any means. They're not in the ranks of like the Chiefs and the Eagles and the Cowboys or anything like that. So, Eric, give me your thoughts on the stuffing. Last year we had the Steelers in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the assessment. I mean, it's a classic team that's been around for a while. Team that's almost always good. Maybe has a down year every now and then, but for the most part, obviously they were great with Brady winning all those Super Bowls, but even since he left, they've had a couple good seasons now. Like just a classic team that's like always gonna. It seems like no matter who's on their roster, they're always going to be in it.
All right, so moving on, we have our next big item, our next big good item. So, Eric, tell us about our next item.
Yeah, we got the mashed potatoes next. This is probably my personal favorite Thanksgiving food item. I definitely put the most of this on my plate, but
same.
I think that's the case with a lot of people. Now, Connor, I know we disagree on the style of mashed potatoes. I like them smooth, but you like them a little chunkier. But regardless, like pretty much everybody loves mashed potatoes. It's always a really good and popular dish, and that popular and really good team right now is the Philadelphia Eagles. Like Connor alluded to earlier, they've looked a little weaker here in some of their last couple games, but they've still been managing to pull them out. And I remember like it was like several weeks before where they never trailed in the second half. I mean, they'd been dominating. So if they honestly hadn't looked weaker in these last couple games, that they would have been the turkey. But regardless, mashed potatoes are still really good, really popular. There's no downside or it's not a bad thing to be the mashed potatoes. So if you're an Eagles fan and you see this on on our list here, you should be happy, definitely be happy with that. This is probably the first one. While this team we've had talked about the first three teams, how they were all surprises. Like the Eagles have been a little bit of a surprise, but I did think the Eagles were going to be really good this year. My main concern was just with Jalen Hurts, but he's been doing really well, and that led the Eagles to this spot here. So Eagles fans, congratulations.
Congratulations, you have become the swirly white starch dish that everyone loves.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That was a pretty easy choice. Some of these we actually had to think about, but that was a fairly easy choice. Like Eric said, mashed potatoes are generally the most loved side dish. Last year, the Arizona Cardinals were in this spot when they were off to that undefeated start. So pretty appropriate that 2 years in a row now, the last undefeated team has been our mashed potato dish.
Well, hopefully for Eagles fans' sake, you didn't just jinx them. Like since the Cardinals had that downward spiral at the end of the year and then that first round playoff loss. So hopefully you didn't. Well, I mean, Susan likes the Cowboys, so
I was gonna say that would make Susan happy if they started
Susan
going
would
on
be
a
happy
downward
if
spiral.
But for the Eagles, like Joseph, who I'm friends with, so all the other Eagles fans out there, like if you end up jinxing, they may not be happy with you there. But there's no way that could be a jinx, right? So
we don't jinx anyone.
Yeah, never. We're not the commentators that jinx kickers on field goals and stuff. We don't do that here.
Or like when they were flashing some graphic up during the UNC Georgia Tech game about how Drake May had gone. They kept repeating oh, he's gone 190 passes without an interception, and then he throws an interception. Just come on now. So moving on to so we have kind of two dueling dishes here. So Eric and I are going to kind of tag team this a little bit. So we've got two desserts here, pumpkin pie and pecan pie. And this is really two dishes here that when it comes to your favorite between them, you're really on one side or the other. And my experience, it's like you love pumpkin pie and you really don't like pecan pie, or you love pecan pie and you really don't like pumpkin pie. I know Zach isn't here to defend pecan pie, but because I'm personally a fan of pumpkin pie. So it's going to be kind of two teams here that are rivals, but not necessarily division rivals. So for the pumpkin pie, at least we have the Buffalo Bills. Since I am here, and I'll take the team that's doing a little bit better as pumpkin pie. But the Buffalo Bills, they've had a little bit of a downturn here the past couple of weeks, just because Josh Allen's been hurt and they've really been hit by the injury bug overall. Tre'Davious White still hasn't come back yet. Micah Hyde, of course, had the season-ending injury. Jordan Poyer and Tremaine Edmonds have both been hurt off and on. Matt Milano's been hurt off and on. A lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, and also, like I said, Josh Allen's injury. But, I'll give a lot of credit to them for the win that they had today. Being able to – they weren't able even to leave Buffalo until, middle of the day yesterday. And get on the plane to Detroit. So under those circumstances, basically having no rest at all, not being able to really practice at all because of all the snow in Buffalo, and, not having a home game, not even being in your home stadium, being able to go out and contain the Cleveland Browns and get the win, a pretty good win for them. And now, at least for their sake, they'll be able to rest up and, get ready for their game against Detroit next week. They don't have to go anywhere since they're playing Detroit on Thanksgiving, so they don't have to leave Detroit or anything. But they, if they can at least, get some people back healthy, and get it together, then they're a legit Super Bowl contender still. But they've had a pretty big rivalry over the past couple of years with the Tennessee Titans, who we have as pecan pie. So, Eric, talk to us about that.
Yeah, we got pecan pie and another dessert, like Connor talked about, got the rival to the pumpkin pie here. Obviously, the Bills blew the Titans out this year, but the Titans, had that shocking victory over them last year, and
The
the
year
Titans
before
made a
that,
name for
too.
themselves. Yeah, yeah. The Bills, they finally got their payback, but the Titans had been having their number. And the Titans got off to that bad start, that shocking loss to the Giants week 1, and then the blowout to the Bills week 2, and it really seemed like the Titans were doomed. And obviously, I hate them as a Jaguars fan, but I have to give them credit. I mean, they've rebounded really nicely since then. They played really well, and I think their only other loss was to the Chiefs. Let me check here.
I think you're
or
right
maybe
about that.
Let me see. Yeah, because they only have 3 losses. So yeah, and really that Chiefs game, if Tannehill had been able to play, I think they would have won that too. So the Titans, they're on a roll right now, and
King Henry is back.
yeah, Derrick Henry was looking bad the first couple weeks, but he's been playing better since then. I know Nate's happy about that, having him on his fantasy team. But so as much as I hate the Titans, I got to give them credit. They've rebounded nicely. They're definitely on their way to the playoffs, and and there's a very strong possibility that the Titans and Bills here, could meet in the playoffs, and we'll have the pumpkin pie and pecan pie battle again. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and last year we had this was between the Cowboys and the Packers, so definitely a matchup that could happen, and hopefully for my sake, the pumpkin pie comes out on top this time, because it seems like the Packers tend to have the Cowboys number on the other side. So
yeah, I hope that happens too if they do meet in the playoffs. So I don't like either pie, honestly. So like I'm okay with the Titans losing. I'm not going to be upset if pecan pie loses.
Eric doesn't like the 2 pies. Wow. What's your go-to Thanksgiving dessert then, if you don't like either of those, since we don't have any other desserts on here?
Honestly, I usually don't eat dessert at Thanksgiving. I mean, just because most of them are pies, which I'm not huge on, so I don't usually eat much Thanksgiving dessert. As crazy as that sounds, because I don't like sweet potato pie either. Like so.
Well, that's like kind of just worse pumpkin pie. So
yeah, so I just if somebody makes a cake or something, I'll eat that. Or if there's if somebody has ice cream or something, I'll do that. But usually with pies, for the most part, I'm just not a big fan of them. So
not even apple pie if they have that.
I no, I don't like apple pie either. I don't like cooked fruit. I don't know. I just don't like it. I'm weird. I am pretty picky, I will admit. So.
All right. So moving on to the next dish here, we have the green bean casserole. This was actually the Chiefs last year, surprisingly, but maybe going to take on a little bit of a different meaning this year, where we have a dish that may not seem very appetizing. A lot of people, when it comes to Thanksgiving, you think, oh, turkey, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, rolls, sweet potatoes. People want to go, but they see the green bean casserole and they just kind of I'm not really feeling that. But green bean casserole, at least in my opinion, is actually really good, and it's surprisingly good. So, having said that, we have the Seattle Seahawks in this spot, because this is a team that going into the season, everyone thought they were doomed. Myself included, with the whole the quarterback tandem of Drew Lock and Geno Smith, that ain't going to be able to do anything. But Geno Smith has had a career resurgence here in Seattle. Of course, he's got a lot of good weapons around him, with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett still being one of the best wide receiver duos. Kenneth Walker's really broken out as a good rookie running back, ever since he's gotten healthy. And surprisingly, the Seahawks defense, despite not having Jamal Adams, which, I think he's completely overrated anyway. But even without Jamal Adams, the Seahawks defense has also been playing really good. And, it's amazing to think that right now that they're in first place in the NFC West, which is, same division with the 49ers and the Rams, who everyone thought was still going to be really good this year. So definitely been a surprising shock season for the Seattle Seahawks. And I think they compare really nicely to this. What about you, Eric?
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. I like your decision to put them on the list here. Like, but even me as a picky eater, like we were just talking about, like I do like green bean casserole, and it's something that I'm surprised that I do like. So I think I remember I answered a question on Twitter, like somebody's poll or something at the beginning of the season, and they were like, "Which team's going to have the worst record?" And I'm pretty sure I said the Seahawks, and so they've definitely proved me wrong, and they're making me eat my words. I give the Seahawks a lot of credit, so I just thought for sure going from Russell Wilson to Geno Smith was going to be horrible for this team, but looking at how Russell Wilson's been playing so far this year, like Geno Smith's by far been better. So
it's almost been an upgrade.
It's almost like the shock of the year, man. Like so yeah, I think this was an excellent choice, and Seahawks fans, you should be pretty happy that you're at this point. You made it on our list of good food items towards the beginning of the season. We got a certain item we're going to talk about at the end, and that's where I thought the Seahawks were going to be. So you're in a much better spot than expected.
All right, so moving on, I'll let Eric talk about our next item, which unfortunately, if Caleb watches this, he might not be too happy about. But take it away, Eric.
Yeah, well, describe this dish like sweet potato with marshmallows.
Yeah, it's like this. It's like the sweet potato, like the mashed sweet potatoes with marshmallows.
Yeah, I don't get it. That's something I would not eat.
It's something that I don't really. It's something I don't like either. Like, there's always someone that likes it, but I really think it's just way too sweet. Like, it's sweet on sweet.
Yeah, for me, it's no. And the Packers, I mean, just unfortunately have been that kind of a team this year. I mean, they just haven't looked good from the start. I mean, you can tell that Rodgers. I don't know if it's just that he's finally regressing or if he just doesn't have enough help on the outside. I mean, his wide receivers have, for the most part, been pretty bad. Like Christian Watson's emerged lately as a deep threat that's been helping, but most of these guys are just whatever. Like Robert Tonyan's disappeared. Like his tight end help is terrible. And even the defense hasn't been as good. I know they've had some injuries on that side of the ball, but I will say the defense has been better than the offense. But I mean, just overall, this team has just not been that good. They had that surprising win against the Cowboys. Like I don't know how they pulled that one out, but I mean, really, just for the most part, the Packers have just not been that good this year. And, this sweet potato with like roasted marshmallow thing is not good either. So, like,
but someone always likes it. So that's why we made that comparison.
And this is definitely a downgrade for the Packers, going from the dueling dessert pies with the Cowboys last year to a, weird sweet potato marshmallow dish. Caleb, I hate to do it, but Caleb, if you're mad at me, just remember that in all the other years past of Clutch Crew Sports, I was the one that was always the biggest believer in the Packers until this year. So at least all the other years I had you, I was the one picking Green Bay to get the farthest. I had the biggest belief in them, but I don't know. Just after Devontae Adams when they did that trade and getting rid of him, I just had a really bad feeling about the Packers, but. I think in the future they'll be good, because they got a lot of great draft value, and with the Raiders being so bad, they're going to have some high draft picks, and I think they'll be able to turn it around quickly. But for this year, they're sweet potatoes and marshmallows.
Yeah, definitely a downgrade there for the Packers. Moving on to the next dish here, we've got the mac and cheese, which is one of the very popular. Susan's favorite, very popular side dish that you normally don't see very often at Thanksgiving. Like it's kind of off and on whether two people have it or not. But whenever it is there, it's always very loved. And we decided to attribute that because it's not always there all the time. It's like a good, more exciting team to watch, and that team this year has definitely been the Miami Dolphins. I think a lot of people thought that the Dolphins were going to be good, but I'm not sure. I know Zach was really high on them, but outside of him, I didn't really know anyone who thought that they were going to be like spectacular and potential Super Bowl contenders. I had a lot of doubts about Tua. I know a lot of other people
Same.
did too. Yeah, so it was like one of those things that they had all the other pieces. They brought in Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle had a fantastic rookie year. They had brought in a couple good running backs. They had a good defense from the previous year. It's like just you need the quarterback play, and Tua has played outstanding this year. In the games that he's played, they've won almost every single one. Um, and like I said, this is a spot that last year we had the New England Patriots in this spot, so because they were kind of like that surprising, exciting team last year. So back-to-back appearances for the AFC East for this dish. But definitely the Dolphins. It's going to be interesting to see how they do because they seem like they haven't. Tua had that injury that happened, and they looked like they were kind of headed for a downturn. But then Tua's come back, and they've looked just the same dominant team. And I'm really interested to see when they have their rematch with the Bills because that first game was really close. And I know, like, my dad was telling me about, what was going on in that game. This was like a week 3 game or something like that when they played. And it was, 90 something degrees in Miami. And apparently, like, the way that Miami designs their stadium for like their early season games, they have it where the visitor sideline is like under the sun for the whole game. And they also don't provide fans for the opposing team. So it's like basically the
Oh,
Bills were just,
I would be bringing in my own fans then if
well, I guess
I
I don't know what was going on there, but like apparently they just like didn't have fans over there and the sun was constantly beating down on the Bills. So like a lot of them were getting like heat exhaustion and stuff like that. Cause of course it's like 90 degrees in Miami and you're wearing these blue jerseys that are, taking in the heat. So I know my dad was telling me, he's like, when Miami comes up and visits us here in the wintertime, they get no heaters. They get to sit over
yeah,
in
that's
the
a good one,
cold.
dude. That's a good one.
So
Oh man.
but what are your thoughts on the Dolphins? 'Cause I know you were like me; you had your doubts about Tua going into this season.
Yeah, I the Dolphins and Eagles were both very similar teams for me in the sense that I felt like they had really good pieces on the team on both sides of the ball. But I was just worried about the quarterback play, and I was worried that that was going to be what brought them down. But just like with Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, I mean, Tua has proven me wrong, just like the Seahawks have proven me wrong. A lot of teams proven me wrong this year. So
Yeah, it's been a very
I'm
very
not
wacky season.
I'm not an expert, I guess, but
Well,
but
I think we've probably collectively done better than most of the actual experts because a lot of the actual experts were, they never think like anything's ever going to change. It's like they think
well,
like the same
true.
teams are
That's
going
a
to
good point.
do whatever over and over again. And, like I
True.
know, like I can use the Bengals as an example for that. Like they were all like picking the Bengals to go back to the Super Bowl. And I was like, I kind of have my doubts about the Bengals. And they've kind of been proven right so far. So, like, they're still good, but like they're definitely not on the Super Bowl radar right now, in my opinion. So,
For
um,
sure. But yeah, I think you summed up the Dolphins pretty well there. I mean, exciting team, exciting side item. So
Susan's
Susan would
favorite.
probably argue the Cowboys should have been the mac and cheese, but maybe next year.
Hey, well, they got to be the pumpkin pie last year, so
Yeah, they were pumpkin pie last year, and she likes that, so that works out.
All right, next dish, Eric, take it away.
Yeah, so the next dish is going to be the most exciting, most popular dish out of all of them, the dinner roll. Now, honestly, the dinner roll is one of my favorite ones to talk about last year, just because it's an item where every Thanksgiving is going to have it. Everybody's going to put one on their plate, but like when you sit down and you've got all these different food items in front of you, is the first thing you're going to eat the roll? Like, definitely not. You know what I
No,
mean?
you're
It's
going for
not.
those. You're going for those potatoes or the
Yeah,
turkey
you're
or
going for the
something.
potatoes or the turkey or the stuffing or something like that, or maybe even the green bean casserole. But you're not going for the roll, and that's the Denver Broncos this year. I mean, this is a team that, like, going into the season had very high expectations. Like, looked like on paper they were going to be really good, and they had been having all this trouble at quarterback, and then they finally got the guy in Russell Wilson, but instead they got this like boring, cringe robot guy at quarterback, and while the Broncos defense is good, the Broncos defense is definitely not a dinner roll. Like the offense has just been so bad that it just brings them down. I mean, I saw this.
Yeah. If we were just taking their defense, they'd be like mac and cheese or mashed potatoes or something.
If these side items were only the defenses of teams, yeah, they would be way better. But I saw this stat the other day where like if the Broncos had just like I don't know, it would be different now after today's game, but like going into this week, if the Broncos had just been able to average 18 points a game, they would have been 8-1. But instead,
that's nuts.
Instead, they were 3-6 going into the week, and then they lost to the Raiders, who have been abysmally bad as well. So, this is just a boring team to watch because of how bad their offense is. Like they're a popular team that gets talked about a lot, but they're not exciting. So, classic dinner roll here. I will say we put the Colts here last year. I thought about putting them here again, but then Connor brought up the Broncos, and I was like, oh, yeah, good point. The Colts are close to the dinner roll again, but the Broncos take the cake this year.
Yeah, definitely. I'm less and less excited. I mean, like I'm still, of course, really excited to be going to a Broncos game later in the season, but like definitely was hoping the Broncos would have been a little bit better in that game. That hopefully would have been better, but guess we'll find out when I go if they actually.
Who are they playing?
They're playing the Chargers.
Who are they playing in that game?
It's the Week 18 game against the Chargers, so that's going to be interesting. Like, I hope for an offensive explosion, but it's like at the same time, it's like I'm not sure I'm even going to get to see the Chargers like have an offensive explosion because Denver's defense is really good, so it's just like don't want to go there and it just be like another like 16-13 game or something, but it'll still be fun.
It looks like the highest the Broncos scored this season is 23 against the Raiders and 21 against the Jags. Those are the only times they've broken 20 points. That's so bad, dude.
I'm not sure how they haven't fired Nathaniel Hackett yet, but like he needs to go already.
He sucks, dude. I always like to joke he's a hack. Zinger. Well, speaking of bad dishes, we got another bad one coming up, Connor. So tell us about this one.
Yeah, we're definitely closing out here with the bad dishes. But my favorite one is still yet to come. But we're on the second to last here, the creamed, the creamed spinach, and yeah, this is one of those dishes that spinach is just like I don't know what to say about. Like, I actually don't mind raw spinach. But like when you cook spinach,
same.
Yeah, and this is like it seems to be unique to spinach for me because when you take other greens like collard greens or like turnip greens or like chard or something, you can make them and cook them and like they'll still have a little bit of like you can cook them for a long time and they'll get like more mushy and stuff. But like you'll cook them and they can, be nice and firm and crunchy and still have good flavor. Spinach, when you cook it, man, it just tastes like mushy water. Like I don't know why it's like you have to really do good stuff to it to make it taste good. And like I said, it's crazy because it's actually pretty decent when it's raw. But especially when you're going to throw it in there.
Give it to me in a salad or something. Like that's totally fine. But
but like
whatever this creamy spinach crap is now.
Yeah, like you cream it. It's like you're not even putting artichokes with it. Like I actually kind of like spinach artichoke dip, but like when it's just like the cream with the spinach, it's just a all around disaster. And that's really been the Carolina Panthers this year. They've been really, they didn't really have any expectations coming into the season at all, but like they thought, okay, we've got a young defense. We still got Christian McCaffrey who's coming back from injury, and they brought in Baker Mayfield, which I actually did like the Baker move originally because of course the other option was Sam Darnold, and he's Sam Darnold. So you can't do much worse than him. So I actually kind of liked the move here when they brought him in, but unfortunately the Panthers, they, as everyone knows, they were the first team to fire their head coach. Matt Rule got fired around like week 7 or week 8, and then they just went into total rebuild mode. They traded away Robbie Anderson. They traded away Christian McCaffrey. there was even talks at one point that they were going to trade Brian Burns, which I think it was smart for them not to trade him because he's actually been one of the few bright spots on this team, and he's a good young piece for them. But just all around been a sort of icky, yucky season. And it's even in some of these games where they had a chance to win, like the game against the Falcons, where they were down by 6 points and with like no time left on the clock, and PJ Walker got a miraculous 50-yard touchdown to DJ Moore, and all they needed was the extra point to win the game. And DJ Moore goes and does a stupid thing and takes off his helmet and gets a 15-yard penalty, so it backs the extra point up from 33 yards to 48 yards. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen a 48-yard extra point attempt. And the kicker and then the kicker went and missed it, and of course they ended up losing that game in overtime. So just all around been an icky season for the Panthers. This was the New York Jets last year, which thankfully for the Jets and their fans, they have definitely moved out of this territory this season. They've been a lot better, but the Panthers they've only regressed. They were the cranberry sauce last year, and they've regressed down to the cream spinach. So hopefully for their sake, they don't regress down to our next food item next year.
Yeah, hopefully the Panthers, can finally turn it around. I'll take over the final dish here. The worst dish of all of them. This isn't something you're going to see at Thanksgiving, very often. But if you go to like your family's house or something, and you see this dish, just run and get out of there and disown your family. This is going to be a Big Mac mashup casserole here. Just
the ultimate
disgusting.
Cheap Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I don't really even get why people like Big Macs that much. I mean, it's like onion and pickle and Thousand Island dressing, and it's like with that extra bread in the middle, it's just like so much bread, and the meat is so thin on a Big Mac. I just don't get why anybody likes them. Secret sauce.
You definitely got to go for the double. You definitely got to go for the double quarter pounder if you're going to McDonald's. Like way more beef.
The quarter pounder is way better. Like the quarter pounder is way better. But and then I just don't know why anybody likes this. And then like secret sauce. Yeah, okay, whatever. It's Thousand Island dressing. We all know what it is. Like, and to me, Thousand Island is gross. Like, there's so many other condiments and salad dressings that I would put on a burger before I eat that. And then you're talking about mashing it all up and putting it in a pan. Like, no, thank you.
With some fries thrown in there,
Yeah, go ahead and mash some fries in there while we're at it. Like no
maybe
thanks.
Some chicken nuggets.
Oh God, okay, this is getting worse. Anyway, but so we saved this spot for the worst team. In the league last year at this time, it was the Lions, but they've gone on a 3-game win streak, so they've avoided that. They're on the up, but as of right now, it's the Houston Texans, and it does suck for me as a Jaguars fan that their one win came against us, but I don't know, man. Like the Texans, like in some of their early games, like they showed a lot of fight, and they could have won some of these games, but here lately they've just been looking really abysmal. Especially that game against Washington today. Like there was no life in that game. Like,
yeah, I was really amazed. I was really amazed that Zach picked that on the lock board. I was like, really? Like, it's the Texans.
That one took me by surprise. I got his reasoning behind it, but it wasn't on my radar. And I don't know, man. Even like Pierce, who's been their best player, only had like 8 yards, and Davis Mills was atrocious. And then he threw a pick six, and the defense they got kind of lifeless. And like there was like nobody in the stands at that game. Like there was almost all Washington fans there. Like it was just abysmally bad. Like the Texans are just abysmal right now. And obviously as a Jags fan, I won't mind if obviously we won't be doing the podcast anymore, but we might, off to the side still compare teams to Thanksgiving dishes, and I won't mind if the Texans are in the same spot. So.
I mean, that game was so. I was gonna say that game was so bad that like I was even seeing a tweet that was coming out to where like I can't. It was like one of the experts like Schefter or Rapp or someone was saying that like. This game is getting so out of hand that like Washington should consider putting Sam Howell in the game just to like see how good he is, because like they're not going to lose this no matter what. Like that's when it's bad. Yeah, it's like that's when it's bad when like they're talking about the other team like potentially throwing in their 4th-round quarterback to like, or he's like 4th or 5th round actually, to like get some
Yeah.
reps because there's no way that they could blow this game now. Like that's really bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. Like, it just seems like the Texans are going into tank mode. You know, they
The
want to get Bryce
tank for
Young.
Bryce Young.
Yeah, they want to get Bryce Young or CJ Stroud for sure. Like, I was hoping maybe they'd win a few games to, get maybe like the 4th or 5th draft pick or something. But after watching that Washington game today, I was like, I will be surprised. They beat the Jaguars 9 times in a row. They might find a way to beat us again. But like, I will be surprised though if the Texans win another game this season, especially if they keep playing like that.
Yeah, it seems like ever since the whole Bill O'Brien situation, just this franchise has quickly spiraled out of control. And, it's like I feel bad for any head coach that ever has to be a part of it. I know they brought in Lovie Smith this year, but like he's probably going to be fired once the year is over. And then they're just going to get some new guy to come in and deal with the same situation. Like, it's like the Cleveland Browns and the Detroit Lions have been like historically bad franchises, but like, the Texans just seem like they're on another level this year of bad. Like,
Yeah,
especially like
I will say the only thing that helps them going forward is they do have 2 first and 2 third-round picks next year. So
yeah, they do have a lot of draft
they
picks that they've accumulated.
yeah, they might be able to. They're not in that Bill O'Brien era anymore where they don't have first and second round draft picks. Like they are gonna have a chance to start turning it around. But hopefully they'll screw up their draft picks as a Jags fan and just be the Big Mac casserole again next year.
Well, they screwed up their draft pick last year by taking Derek Stingley over Sauce Gardner. So, that was a screw up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Good point. Well, Connor, any closing thoughts or anything else you'd like to add before the end here?
No, I mean, I think we covered this pretty well. I was definitely excited to do this episode again. I know I didn't do the Halloween episode because I was busy doing power rankings, but I was definitely excited to be able to do this one again. Thanks guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button down below if you enjoy the video, and hit that subscribe button so that way you can stay up to tune for all our videos. Our lock board next week's definitely going to be interesting because of course, Thanksgiving, when we usually record on Thursday, but of course Thursday is Thanksgiving. So Zach and I might be doing an episode for it. If not, then we might just either have like a short video or just like post our results on Twitter of the draft or something. It's just very interesting doing this with Thanksgiving coming around. So it might be coming out, it might not be. So stay tuned for that. And since Zach isn't here, I will give Zach's line of, and everything you do. Also, thanks, Eric, for being on this episode. You haven't been on an episode in quite a long time.
Yeah, it was fun, man. I was happy to be a part of it. So
yeah, so for Zach, and everything you do, remember to be clutch.
Peace.